Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope you are doing very well. Today's lesson will be about plants and animals are adapted to different environments. Let's see how plants and animals are living in their environment. So you know that the environments are different. Some are hot, some are dry, some are hot and dry, some are wet, some are cold, some are. So we have different environments. Let's see. Let's continue with them one by one. We're gonna go and how animals and plants are living in their environment. Bismillah. First of all, we have to know we said adapted how they will adapt this one. So what's adaptations? Adaptations are the features that help plants and animals live in their environment. It means there are some features, there some characteristics, some properties that help the plants and animals to live in their environment. According to their environment, they have different properties. It means animals from in desert and animals in around us are different. They have different things, and the plants are the same in the desert and here are this different. Why? Because they have different things to live in their environment. These plants here have different things to live in here in this environment. These plants here cannot live in the other place. Why? Because they don't have these things to survive in that place. It means when you say adaptation means dealing with the environment by having some properties, some characteristics, some features in the animal and in the plant. So let's see plants adaptations in very hot and dry environments. So we all know that in very hot and dry environment there is very little water in that place. So how will animals and plants, generally I'm asking this question, how will animals and plants adapt with this environment? So that's the answer. Animals and plants are using very little water in that place. They are not going to use as much as they want. Whatever you want, they want. They are going to use it. No, they know that if they use it now, if they use all the water which they have, so suddenly they will be out of water and they will die. So they are going to use very little water in that place to survive. Otherwise, suddenly the water will be finished and they will die. So let's see what do plants have to survive in that place, in like a desert, like hot and dry environment, and what do animals have? So first of all, let's go for the plants. The plants, like the cactus, is an example of the plants that live in the hot and dry environment. What does cactus have to live in that place? They have thorns in these spiky things you see out of the cactus. This is instead of the leaves allowed to lose less water. You know that I'm not saying too much, but the leaves outside around us are using much water compared to the the leaves are using much water compared to thorns. So thorns are going to use less water. It's instead of leaves, it's going to work like leaves but losing less water through their working. So this is one of them is thorn. They don't have leaves, they have thorns. So they have waxy coat around the plant. There is a waxy coat around the plant for what? To stop water from escaping. It doesn't let the water to go out and to lose it easily. So why? Because they know if they let it, they will go out. Suddenly they will be out of water and they will die. They have fat stem. It's like a barrel here. It's going to store water to survive. It's good. Fat stem is like a barrel, as I said, to store water. And they have deep roots, guys, to find water. Why? We said that there is very little water in the hot and dry environment. So they must go deeply down to find water, right? It's not like normal plants outside around us. They can easily find water. In that place, there is very little water, so they have to go deeply down below the ground to find water. So it means these four things are the features, are the properties, the characteristics of the cactus to survive in their environment. Like they have thorns instead of the leaves to lose less water, waxy coat stop the water from escaping, fat stem to store water. Here is full of water in this place, and deep roots to go deeply down to find water. And what about the animals? we have small animals and big animals. First, let's just mention the small animals like rat and lizards. They are digging their burrows to stay during the hottest part of the day, and they only come out at night to find something to eat. It means they cannot get out during the hottest part of the day. So that's why they are going to stay in their burrow. This kind of adaptation. They are going to adapt with the environment by digging their burrows and to stay inside it. So, and what about the big animals like camel? Camels have long eyelashes to keep the sand out of the eyes. It doesn't let the sand to enter the dust. You know, the desert is full of dust and sand, you know, right? It's all made of this. So it doesn't let the sand and the dust to enter their eyes. So it's gonna keep their eyes by their long eyelashes. Some and other animals around us, they don't have these long eyelashes. Why? Because they don't need it. They do because there is not much dust and sand to enter their eyes. And they have thick leaves. And the animals around us, they don't have these thick leaves. Why? Because they are not eating thorny desert plants like cactus here, like what? Like camel. The camels are going to eat thorny plants in desert. They must have thick leaves, and they have white tough feet to help them to walk on hot sand. Okay, to let them to walk on hot sand easily. If they don't have this kind of feet, it's different from the other animals. It's like kind of stronger, so they cannot walk on this hot sand. You know, the desert is very hot, and the camels during the day they are moving through on this sand. So the camel also have something else that they let them to survive for a week without water and a month, several months even, without food. Like they have humps to store fat for energy. In here, they are going to save water and fat as energy for when they need it, because they cannot find water and food whenever they want. It's not like our environment to go out and find everything whatever you want. So they have to walk for a long distance to reach some water or some food to eat. So that's why they have to adapt by this way. They have humps to store fat for energy. When they need it, they will use it, and they are going to store water too. So it means the plants, for example, they have thorn, they have waxy coat, they have deep root, they have fat stem to survive in these are the features of the cactus to live in the hot and dry environment. And the features of the camel, what are they? The long eyelashes, the thick leaves, and the humps, white tough feet. These are the characteristics, the properties, the features of the camel to live in their environment. And the small animals, we said they are going to dig their burrow and stay there for the hottest part, and the other time they will come out and eat. So that's about hot and dry environment, how animals and plants adapt with the hot and dry environment. So let's go for the other kind of environments. We have another kind of environment, which is wet environment. How animals adapt in the wet environment. Okay, so let's see. Like water in here for the wet environment, for the plant, let's first start. We have water lily and lotus plant. So how will they survive? They have some things that help them to survive, to live in that place. It's making their life easier in that place. Like what? They have large flat leaves. You know that when something is flat, it's easier to float on the water, right? So they have these large flat leaves to float on the water. It means, why do they have large flat leaves? For floating on the water. They have big air space in their leaves and also in the stem too. Why? To make them light. Of course, if they have big air space inside their plants and the stem, they will be light. When they will be light, they will float on the water. So it means large flat leaves, they will float on the water, and also they have big aerospace is for floating on the water too. It means these 2 points will be only for floating in the water. But why? Why do they have these things only for floating on the water? Why? Why should they float? to get sunlight from the sun, and I mean like energy from the sun to make food. That's why they have these two things only for floating. And they have weak stem. This weak stem, why they don't have this weak stem? Why they don't have strong stem like outside plants around us, like normal plants? Because the normal plants around us have many external forces on them, so they must have strong stem to stay against these external forces like wind, like whatever else it comes to effect on them. So but because they are inside the water, they don't need strong stem, they have weak stem because the water is going to support them. The water doesn't let them to have any effect. Any external forces are not going to affect on them. And they have small roots. It's completely different from the hot and dry environment. Hot and dry environment, we said they have deep roots, but in here small roots. Why? In hot and dry environment there were very little water that place. They had to go down deeply under the ground to find water. But in here they're already inside the water. They don't need deep root to go down for finding water. They are already inside the water. They have small roots, and they will directly, easily take the water they take the water and absorb it. Done. That's how the plants live in the wet environment. They have large and flat leaves and big air space to float on the water. Why? To get the sunlight for making food. They have weak stem. They don't need strong stem because the water is gonna support them. They don't need weak stem, strong stem. Sorry. And they have small roots because they are already inside the water. They're going to absorb the water from their place where they live. That was about the plants. What about the other animals? Like we have ducks and geese. They have webbed feet. If you look at their feet here, you see it's webbed. They have fingers, but between the finger it's blocked by their skin. It means their feet will be like wide. Okay, for what? For swimming faster, for moving faster through the water. They can push more water backward. It's like kind of being a water resistance, pushing and going front faster. And also that was about duck and geese, some kind of animal. We have many kinds of animals live inside the water. Seabirds, guys, you see in here. This is seabirds. Seabirds have two things. One, waterproof feather. You see it's here outside. How will they dive for catching the fish, and they will get out easily because they have waterproof feather. Their feathers are not gonna get wet. They are going to stay dry. So when they are dry, they can float easily. They can get out of the water easily. If they get wet, they will be sink, and they will be wet and heavy and sink. But because they have waterproof feather, they are not gonna get dry. They will directly get out of the water. That was the number one. Number two, they have a special gland. Gland is something, the part inside their body. Why do they have this? To get rid of the salt of the seawater. Okay, of course the sea is salty, right? The seawater is salty, right? So if they dive for catching the fish, when they catch it 100%, some water gonna enter their body, right? So how will they get rid of from this salty water? They need fresh water. They don't need salt water. They are not gonna survive with salty water. So that's why Allah gave them a special gland to get rid of from this salt from the water. They will separate the salt and take it out. It means seabirds have special gland to get rid of from this salt from the seawater, and also they have waterproof feather to not get wet. So they will get out of the water easily. And we have flamingo. They have long thin legs. Why? So they are living through in the shallow of the water, you see. So by these long and thin, they can move easily and faster through the water. We have studied before. We said when the surface will be more and increased, more bigger surface, makes more water resistance, more air resistance too, right? So they have thin legs to be small, less surface, less water resistance. When there is less water resistance, they will be faster. They can move faster, and also they have flexible neck to catch fish and other things easily to eat. But be careful, they have thin legs to move easily through the shallow. They have thin, less air resistance. Less water resistance. And also, we have fish. Okay, fish are using their gills for breathing. These are their gills. You see, their gills for breathing, and also they are using their fins for to swim. You see these parts from right, left, and also back side part of the, what do you say, the behind of the fish. You see they have these extra parts. These are the fins. Okay, so the fins to swim, to move through the water. It means the fish are using two things, I mean, for adapting with the wet environment. One, their gills to take oxygen from the water for breathing, and number two, fins to swim. They need fins to swim, to move through the water. So we have lungs to take oxygen. They have gills. You see, our environment are different. Our characteristics, our properties, our organs are different. So it means water lily and lotus plant, they have large flat leaves and a big air space to float. So for what? For taking the sunlight. And weak stem. Why? Because they don't need a strong stem. The water is gonna support them. Small roots, they are already inside the water. They don't need deep root to go down. They will directly take the water. And about the animals, ducks and geese, they have webbed feet. As you see that, their feet will be wide and they will push the water. And they will go faster. Seabirds, we said they have waterproof feather that help them to not get wet, and they will float. After catching the fish, they will get out of the water easily. And they have special gland to get rid of the salt from the seawater. The seawater when they drink some during the catching fish. Flamingo, we said they have long and thin legs. Why long and thin? Because they are living in the shallow. They can reduce the water resistance, less water resistance, so they can be faster. And fish, they have gills for breathing. They are taking oxygen from the water by their gills. Which part? Gills. For what? For breathing. Fins for what? For swimming. They have fins for swimming. So, I mean, you have to know, for example, which animal, what do they have for what? For example, which animal has webbed feet? Ducks and geese, you know? Which animals have special gland to get rid of the salt? Seabirds. Which animal has waterproof feather? Seabirds. Which animal has long and thin leg? Flamingo. Which animal has gills for breathing? Fish. Which animal has fins for swimming? Fish. So you have to know which animal and what do they have to survive. So that was today's lesson. I hope you understand everything. And until now, that was only hot and dry environment, and there was a wet environment. Now only cold environment left. I think it's kind of long video, but I hope you understand. Let's go for the cold environment too. It's not much. So plants and animals are adapted to the different environments. So cold environment, this region is too cold. There is not much rain, but it has a lot of snow in the winter. So guys, don't confuse this. When they said cold environment, you say, oh, cold environment, it means here is always rain or something like this. But no, there is not much rain. There is not much rain. In a normal place, in a cold place, there is much rain. But in a very cold place, like the North Pole or South Pole, So in these two places are very very cold. It's more than normal. So there is not much rain. You cannot see much rain in that place. But what do they have? They have snow. Because it's too cold, there's not much rain. There is a lot of snow. Be careful. When you hear cold, it doesn't mean rain. When you hear cold, you have to know that. Very cold means snow. In very cold environment, there is not much rain. There is a lot of snow. Be careful. So, our lesson, as you know, that is how animals and plants adapt with the environment. So we have very cold place. There's not much rain. There is a lot of snow. How the animals and plants are going to adapt with this environment? How will they survive? When it's all snow, there is of course if it's continuously snow, they cannot find food easily, right? So and they cannot survive easily. So let's see what do they have. Some animals have thick fur to keep them warm. For example, you see the white bear here. They have thick fur, keep it warm. So it's very cold. It needs this thick fur. You cannot live in that place. You don't have this thick fur. But they have it. That's why they can. They have extra layer of fat inside the body. Of course, it's gonna help them to keep warm again. And also, since there is no food during winter, of course, I said that if there is full of a lot of snow, they cannot find food easily. We have studied before. We said animals are going to what? Migrate or hibernate. Some animals are going to hibernate, like the bird is here is going to hibernate, and some these birds are going to migrate. So it means when the animals cannot find food during winter, we said during winter there is a lot of snow in that place. They cannot find food easily. So they are going to hibernate, sleeping for a long time. Hibernate means sleeping for a long time. So, and also for a long period of time. So, what about migrate? Traveling for a long distance. So, it means when the animals cannot find food in the winter, it's all snow. Some of them are going to hibernate. They are going to sleep for a long period of time during the winter. All the winter, they are just waking up, eating something, and sleeping again. Or migrate, they are going to travel. Of course, we said that during hibernation, the animal's heart rate will slow down, breathing slow down, and temperature goes down because they don't need this too much because they are just sleeping. That was about the animals. Some animals they have thick fur to keep them warm, and also when they cannot find food, they are going to hibernate or migrate. What about plants? Our lesson is about plants and animals, right? That was about the animals. What about plants? So trees have resin, which is a sticky substance. This is resin, guys, which is a sticky substance you see that helps keep them warm and prevent losing moisture. Guys, if you just focus on them in all the parts, most of them, if you can read more about cold environment, more adaptations to the environment, mostly are talking about keeping them warm because in this very cold environment, the main thing, the most necessary things for their life is keeping them warm because it's very cold. They have to keep themselves warm. They have thick fur to keep them warm. They have resin, a sticky substance, to keep them warm. You see, most of the things are about keeping them warm. So that was all about the different environments and adaptation of the animals and the plants to their different environment, like hot and dry environment, wet environment, and cold environment. I hope you understood everything. And if you have any questions, you can just write in the comment. Best wishes.